And now we'll welcome a guy who we've had on our show before. He is a former NFL agent, and he's got an awesome podcast, and he writes some awesome articles. His podcast is called Inside the Cap. He is the great Joel Corry to talk to us about the all-too-early Cowboys off-season and other things going on. Hi, Joel. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, how you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
Oh, doing well.
What is your fandom growing up?
Actually, I loved Tony Dorsett as a kid. So I was a Cowboys fan as a kid. Quit being a Cowboys fan when Tom Landry was fired. And as an agent, did not root for teams, rooted for clients, and rooted against organizations which were difficult to deal with.
Okay.
But now I have one team that I follow. That's North Carolina basketball.
Okay, wait. Like, for instance, what organizations might be difficult to deal with, more difficult than others?
We had Patriots clients, but I was never a fan of the Patriots. So that was conflicted when we had guys like Troy Brown. Happy to see them win a Super Bowl, for them to have success, but really don't want the organization. So it was kind of a mixed bag. Did not like the Cowboys in the heyday because we represented Jimmy Smith, and there's some acrimony there.
You know, it's interesting you mentioned this. I just lent Dan the Marvin Miller autobiography. What is your do you have any sort of not memory, but like, have you read much about Marvin Miller and his efforts?
Oh, I know who he is. I know exactly who he is. That he's been the best union leader that for any player association that I can recall. Too bad that the NFLPA doesn't have its own Marvin Miller. Probably should be in the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Do you think that's because of the length of the careers?
Yeah, because in baseball, you had guys who would school the new generation on how things work, so you had union solidarity, and the last CBA was barely ratified. And the big problem is there are two competing interests. The star players have their own agenda, and the rank and file have their own. And you throw dangling enough carrots at the rank and file, you can get something to pass which may not be in everyone's best interest. You've seen that in basketball as well. That's how you got salary maximums after the 1997-98 season when you had the lockout.
And I know that you wrote something, just to get to the Cowboys here real quick, that you wrote something that really is similar to what you've told us the last couple times you've talked to us, which is that with Dak Prescott and his cap number of nearly $60 million next year, he really does kind of have the team over a barrel. And this could not have gone worse heading into this offseason, that the taste in everyone's mouth is so sour. And it feels like at some point in the next 2 months we're going to get the press release that the Cowboys have extended Dak Prescott.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if that didn't happen. And yeah, I get it. That was a stinker. His stats were misleading. It was all in garbage time. He was thoroughly outplayed by a first-year starter. It's not supposed to happen. But that being said, the day that contract was signed, as long as Dak didn't turn into the second coming of Carson Wentz consistently in 2024, there was going to be a reckoning, and he was going to have all the leverage in the world, not only because of the cap number, which is so high because of 3 restructures where you kick the can down the road to create cap room. He's got the no trade clause, and you can't stick a franchise tag or transition tag on him after the 2024 season. So the way the contract was structured, it was always set up as long as Dak played reasonably well. And he had the bounce back year from last year when he was throwing interceptions left and right, where he's going to be an MVP finalist. Not that people care about that because of the playoff debacle, but that still gives him a ton of leverage.
Yeah, and if, as you just put out an article about Dak too, just today, I think, and
yesterday.
Yesterday, I apologize, but just the whole thought that last time he got the big deal, this deal that he's on, which is an awesome deal, he was coming off an injury and you had no idea how he might perform or how that might affect him going forward. So certainly this time, after coming off the regular season he just threw out there, I would think a playoff loss like this is much less to worry about than the injury he had.
Yeah, that's the point I was going to raise. Good point, because he became the second highest paid player in the league. It changed because other deals were done shortly thereafter. But if you were going to make him the second highest paid player in the league coming off of a significant injury, then what do you think is going to happen this time around? He took a step forward in the regular season. I don't think this is the old proverbial one step forward, two steps backwards with the playoff game. So if you made him the second highest paid player last time, that's currently Justin Herbert at $52.5 million per year. Todd France, as long as that's his agent, Dak empowers Todd France do what he sees fit, he's going to be asking for the sun, moon, and the stars, notwithstanding the playoff loss. And he's going to insist that Dak becomes the highest paid player in the league, eclipsing Joe Burrow's $55 million per year. And it wouldn't surprise me if he's shooting for his target number to be 60.
Okay, so why does he have him over a barrel, though? When you say if he asks for everything he wants, he's going to get it. What are the options, I guess, with the Cowboys here?
Well, when I put a tweet out the other day, which basically Monday reminding people of the setup, I had significant people saying, "Cut him. Let's roll with Cooper Rush and Trey Lance." That's crazy. You are not going to cut a guy who is, in most people's opinion, a top 10 quarterback, coming off of the best year of his career. There's no good options to do that anyway, because you would have $61.915 million of dead money. You could split it up over 2 years. But in order to do that, you have to use a post-June 1 designation. You have to carry his full $59.45 million cap hit until June 2nd, which defeats the purpose of why you would try to do an extension now, because you want to lower the cap before March 17th, when the roster bonus of $5 million is due, because you want to lower the cap number so you'll be able to make some other moves. The no trade clause means you can't ship him off if you wanted to, and even if he did consent to a trade, and you would be getting 2024 draft capital back in return, the dead money is $61.915 million, because there is no such thing as a post-June 1 designation with the trade. Now, if you were having trouble getting a deal done, you have sticker shock, you have voiding 25 and 2026 contract years in place. The contract has automatic conversion rights. You could kick the can down the road by restructuring again, and a maximum restructure would give you almost $22 million in cap room. The problem is, if he walked out the door next year, you've got $52.38 million of 2025 dead money. There's no good options here.
So is it pay Dak 60 or pay no one 60? This around $60 million a year figure keeps coming up.
Yeah, well, you're probably going to have to make the highest paid player in the league. That's Joe Burrow at $55 million. I would see Todd France going, well, the max value of Burrow's contract with the incentives averages $56.25 million per year. I don't think you get him below that, provided that Dak is letting Todd France do what he wants. Obviously, the agent works for the client, but Dak didn't get the no trade clause, didn't get the provision where you can't restrict him if he plays out his contract, so he's headed to the open market. He didn't get those not to take advantage of him. At least that's my opinion.
What if he said he wants a fully guaranteed contract, much like Lamar Jackson was trying for last year?
And Deshaun got.
Well, if you're going to go the fully guaranteed contract route, then you'd be given a discount on the average. And had things gone well and you were still playing, I could see that being more of a viable option, because I was going to write a Dak Prescott article whenever the season ended. I was contemplating that it wasn't going to be until You lose to San Francisco, and then it was going to be give them two options, take it or leave it, $60 million per year, a fully guaranteed contract for less than that. I don't think a fully guaranteed. I think that may be a bridge too far.
What's your opinion
right now.
What's your opinion of the job that Todd France did on this deal?
Oh, great job. Great job. One, the Cowboys made a mistake because they didn't do it when it would have been its cheapest, which was when he was heading into his fourth year, when he hadn't made any real money. They should have made it the first priority that offseason, would have been under $35 million per year. Then asking for the extra year, which was the big sticking point, wanting 5 years. Dallas likes to do long deals. I'm going to see that probably as an issue with CeeDee Lamb, because we saw Diggs do a 5-year extension. They had to play on the franchise tag, and then he signed for 4. So basically franchise tag plus 4 new years is 5 years, but you got that clause in there where you can't franchise him, which effectively means you have to address it in 2024 anyway. So
Diggs has that, you said? I'm sorry. Did you say Diggs has the franchise tag and the clause?
No. I said Diggs has a 5 year. I meant to say 5 new years on his extension.
Okay.
In terms of length of contract,
Okay.
Cowboys wanting long deals.
Do you think that they're about to make Lamb the highest paid receiver in the league as well?
That's misleading because it's $30 million per year, Tyreek Hill, but that's not real because he's got $45 million in the last year he's never going to see. So it really was a 3-year extension at $25 million per year. So if CeeDee Lamb's trying to say, I want 30, this is going to be a hard deal to do. It's really Cooper Kupp, who's slightly under 27. If he does become the highest paid, it'll be short-lived because Justin Jefferson will top it. If I'm CeeDee Lamb, I wait for Justin Jefferson and let that deal get in the marketplace, and if I can't beat it, I try to get close to it.
What would be the argument against the Cowboys moving a little bit of other money around and just letting Dak play out one more year on his current deal? Like, I know that they're 14 or 15 over right now, but couldn't they just gather another year of data?
It's going to be closer to 20 once they got everything in place.
Over?
With the top 51. It's going to be closer to 20. It's depending upon where the cap comes in.
So that may be tough, but, I'd rather –
Yeah, but every dollar that you – let's say you do a small restructure, you're adding to the dead money next year if you make him play it out. If you make him play it out, he might just walk because you don't get good quarterbacks hitting the open market in their prime. The last time we had that was Kirk Cousins. And what happened with Cousins? He became the highest paid player in the league, had lost his only playoff game and got a fully guaranteed contract. So Todd France would be enticed by that. Let's say Dak has a year comparable to this one regular season, and he goes to the open market. What do you think happens then?
I guess you're right. He truly has them over a barrel.
We always thought that Zeke had like the best contract we could ever imagine.
Zeke was smart.
Yeah,
Zeke was smart. I'm a running back. I got a short shelf life. He knew that Emmett was able to get a deal after they started 0-2 as a running back. He assessed the situation perfectly, then fell off a cliff as soon as he signed his contract.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he had those year-ahead rolling guarantees.
Right.
Which always really hemmed the Cowboys up cap-wise.
Yeah, but then you started you restructured him as well, so you made the dead money worse. That's the Cowboys' way of dealing with things. They're not as extreme as the Saints and now the Eagles, but they restructure a ton of contracts and take a credit card approach to managing the cap, which is going to ultimately be fine in the long run as long as you don't have something like the pandemic where the cap drops precipitously one year. Because if the cap's going to go up at least 8, 9, 10% each year, you should be able to outrun kicking a can down the road.
$6 million for Zeke next year, by the way.
Oh, still off his contract, his
Dead
Cowboy
money.
deal?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is a good deal. This stuff is so confusing, and I always think, oh, man, once that guy – look at Aaron Rodgers just signed with the Packers. Well, that ensures he'll be a Packer for the – well, then they can trade it somehow.
Well, that contract was structured in a weird way. They had these option bonuses where the longer he stayed, it got worse in terms of the dead money because option bonuses are treated like signing bonus and they're prorated, and he had multiple option bonuses. So getting rid of him when they did was the least amount of cap pain they're ever going to have to get rid of him. And it worked out because the guy waiting in the wings could actually play, which is another thing which Dallas doesn't have, someone that you think could actually be the successor.
Yeah.
Trey Lance was dealt for a reason, and they gave $5 million guaranteed to Sam Darnold for a reason. They obviously weren't happy with Lance as the backup.
Yeah. No, it's. I thought that was a curious trade that the Cowboys made. What's Denver going to do with Russell Wilson?
Oh, he's gone. Sean Payton didn't like him from day one. He inherited him, and you could tell by all his off-season comments that they didn't want him around.
But what's that monetary? What's going to happen there? It seems like he just signed a new. Has his new deal even kicked in?
No, this will be 2024. Be the first new year because they did it with 2 years left. This is one of the rare instances that if you give up a ton of draft capital for someone, usually the longer you wait to do an extension, the more expensive it is. But this would have been one of the rare instances if you had waited, you'd have been better off. The problem is that they got to pull the cord this year because he's got $37 million as base salary next year that's guaranteed for injury, that's fully guaranteed like the third or fifth day of the league year. He's got $39 million fully guaranteed this year. The no trade clause, he's not going to do them any favors, so he's probably going to be playing for league minimum someplace because there's an offset to guarantee, which means anything he makes from his new team, the Broncos get to recoup to offset their guarantee. So there's no point in him. It's not he doesn't double dip where he gets the $39 million in every dollar from the new deal. So he'll probably sign for league minimum. The Broncos get to offset the $1.121 million, which is his minimum base salary. He's still going to make $39 total, and he'll have to play well to be a starter in 2025.
Maybe a Cowboy, boys. Maybe a Cowboy. So he would take league minimum from someone just because he'd want to stick it to the Broncos a little more. Like, hey,
let's say he made $25 million or signed for $25 million. He's not getting the $25 million. The guarantee that the Broncos has an offset. So the Broncos would get to offset the $39 million they owe him with the $25 million, so they'd only be on the hook for $14. So he has no incentive to make more money unless someone's going to pay him above $39 million, which isn't happening.
Yeah, and I forgot that the whole injury guarantee thing, that's what caused him to get benched in the first place. So, yeah.
Yeah, but the timing of when they came to him, you just beat the Chiefs for the first time in forever, and he was starting to look better. So the timing was curious. I did think that had they continued to lose, the bye week was when he was getting benched. But they didn't cooperate. He played well enough for them to win a couple of games, so I think that plan went out the window.
And then how close are we to Micah Parsons breaking the bank?
Actually, you don't have to do him. You didn't do CeeDee Lamb after his third year. It's been a mixed bag on when you do or you don't. Zeke forced the Cowboys' hand. When given his position, he was smart to do that. Tyron Smith got paid after his third year when he signed his extremely long contract, eight new years. He ended up playing out all of them. Zach Martin didn't get done until he was heading into his fifth-year option. So you got Micah Parsons making a shade under $3 million next year. His cap number's a little over 5.4. He's going to have a fifth-year option in 2025 for I think it'll be right around $23 million. Nick Bosa, who is the highest-paid non-quarterback at $34 million per year, got it done when he was heading into the fifth-year option. So you don't necessarily have to do Parsons this year.
But that's what we're looking at.
In a couple years, if CD does get Justin Jefferson money, Parsons does flirt with that Bosa number, Dak is making what we think to be around 60. I mean, is that a viable way to build a roster to just be this top-heavy?
No, it's not ideal. The Colts used to do it. They were extremely top-heavy during the Manning years because they had Manning, who was up there, Dallas Clark as a tight end, two receivers that were up there, Bob Sanders, Dwight Freeney. They were really top-heavy.
Falk.
Dallas will restructure every contract known to man, so they'll keep kicking the can down the road, but you better hit on your draft picks.
All right, Joel, when's the last time you talked to Shaq?
No, it's been a long time.
Okay. Yeah. I just wanted to check in.
What's the Shaq relationship?
Didn't Joel tell us once that
it was great when I was working with him, but when I started my own company with the head of the football department, then started having the contact started decreasing.
I believe Joel once told us, and I believe my brother relayed this story to me, and I think we talked about this before, that Shaq had to have a waiver on him at all times because he liked to tase people.
Yeah, he was a practical joker, and he was in the office once and said he'd give me $1,000 to tase me, and I'm like, nah, you better add a few more zeros to that. And I told Leonard, my boss, about that, and I was like, I think we need to do a waiver. He's like, yeah, just because if he's going to do stuff like that. He did get a friend of his to do it for $10,000 who said it wasn't worth it.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Shaq's just a
That's
big,
always what I thought.
A big kid.
If you had $1 billion, would you just do bits with it? Yeah. Shaq does. He also does good stuff.
Donates, buys
He's
people.
been doing that from day one. When he was a rookie, he would make these hospital visits in Orlando to children's hospitals that he didn't want any media there because it wasn't for media consumption.
Yeah, because he didn't want the media to see him tasing them kids.
Don't put that out there.
All right, well, Joel, thanks a lot, man. You're the best. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, there's the great Joel Corry. Go check out his podcast and stuff. Read his stuff.
Sure.
Do things.
Great dude.
Tase him. No, I was going to say, Shaq, do you remember? I think I sent you pictures because when I was at Grapevine Ford.
Yeah.
This is like a year ago or so. He
bought a family a car or something.
Yeah, somehow knew some family was on tough times. He just brought him there.
Yeah.
And bought him a vehicle with cash.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine the haggling there?
It's probably pretty low.
Yeah.
I would imagine. But, yeah, no, that was a story my brother told me that Joel told him once upon a time in their office that, like, Shaq would just do bits with cash.
That's awesome.
And they're like, you need a waiver. Liability is going to be an issue here.